Bore da, neu pnawn da, croeso cynnes I gyfarfod arbennig o Bwrdd Iechyd Prifysgol Betsy Cadwaladr. Welcome to the extraordinary board meeting of Betsy Cadwaladr University Health Board. The first thing I'm going to do is to introduce Lowry, who will give instructions regarding translation, and then we will continue using both languages. Diolch yn fawr iawn, Lowry.
So in a moment, the translation will be switched on and then a globe will appear at the bottom of your screens.
Reit. Pawb yn clywed yn iawn? Pawb yn clywed y cyfieithiad sydd angen y cyfieithiad ardderchog. Felly, croeso cynnes eto, a diolch fawr Lowry am setio hynny I gyd I fyny. Fel oedd yn dweud, dyma gyfarfod arbennig o'r Bwrdd Iechyd heddiw I dderbyn ein adroddiad blynyddol a'r cyfrifon blynyddol. Felly, mae'n gyfarfod sydd yn digwydd ar-lein yn unig, ac mae'n gyfarfod sydd yn ddim cweit mor hir ag arfer, ond croeso cynnes I bawb sydd wedi ymuno â ni. Mae dogfennau I gyd ar gael trwy'r wefan arferol, ac yr eitem gyntaf I ni felly ydy derbyn ymddiheuriadau, a mae gen ni ymddiheuriadau gan Chris Stockport, Gareth Williams, Nick Lyons, Billy Nichols a Caroline Turner. Wi jyst yn checio efo Diane. Dwi'n credu dyna'r ymddiheuriadau I gyd. Iawn. Diolch fawr iawn. Eitem nesaf felly ydy datgan buddiant. Unrhyw un yn dymuno datgan buddiant ar unrhyw eitem da ni'n trafod yn y cyfarfod heddiw os gwelwch yn dda. Na. Iawn, awn ni mlaen gyda busnes y cyfarfod rwan, ac I atgoffa pawb unrhyw un sydd yn dymuno cyfrannu os newch chi godi eich llaw electronic, gan obeithio fod yn gweithio'n iawn. Diolch fawr iawn. Ddoe bu gyfarfod o'r Pwyllgor Archwilio, cyfarfod arbennig o'r Pwyllgor Archwilio I edrych ar y cyfrifon ar adroddiad blynyddol, a dwi am droi at Karen, cadeirydd y cyfarfod yna, yn gyntaf I roi falle sylwadau'n dilyn y cyfarfod yna, fel yn bod ni heddiw fel bwrdd yn gallu derbyn y negeseuon ddoe. Diolch fawr iawn, Karen. Over to you.
Diolch yn fawr, David. Pnawn da. Yes, the Audit Committee did meet yesterday to consider the financial statements and the audit report on the accounts. Quite a lot of documents, actually. We had the ISA 260, the Head of Counter Fraud Annual Report. We've had the Head of Internal Audit's opinion and the annual report, including the performance report and annual governance statement. So we had quite a big agenda yesterday. All members of the Audit Committee were present, as was our Chair, David, and our CEO, Carol Shillabeer. And as a result of the meeting yesterday, we are recommending to the board the approval of the 23-24 annual accounts, following the consideration of Audit Wales findings on their review of the financial statements. We're also recommending the board for the approval of the accounts for onward submission to Welsh Government following the incorporation of the accounts. So lots was discussed yesterday. Some of the things we were anticipating came to pass. We received a limited assurance on our overall internal audit opinion. And primarily that was based around our systems of internal control, which, whilst disappointing, we were expecting. But much work has been done, is being done, and will continue to be done to improve that position. And it is an ongoing priority for the exec team as we move into 24-25. Another disappointment yesterday was receiving the qualified statement around the regularity opinion. And this was based on decisions that had been made in the previous financial year, noted in relation to the remuneration report of an interim director, which had rolled into 2023-4. So whilst disappointing, again, we should have, hopefully that will be the end of that going forward. The team is working closely with Audit Wales. We've had a very good working relationship this year, both with internal and external audit. The very good news is our position this financial year compared to last financial year is in a much better place with regards to the delivery of the accounts on time, improved processes and controls put in by the finance team to ensure we met the deadlines, and some very good work undertaken both by Russell's team and internal audit to external audit to ensure that. I think that gives us a little bit of a summary of where we were at yesterday, David. Happy to take any questions, but the audit committee is recommending the board to receive and accept the report for 23-24.
Great, diolch yn fawr, Karen. And what I will do, I will go on now and ask any questions later, and you'll be able to respond then if you have things to share, particularly from that meeting yesterday. Thank you very much for everybody who was involved in that meeting yesterday, who went through things in great detail, so diolch yn iawn I bawb. Awn ni mlaen rwan I fynd trwy'r adroddiad, wedyn gawn ni gyfnod I holi unrhyw gwestiwn neu sylwadau. Felly rwan dwi'n troi at ein cyfarwyddwr cyllid dros dro, Russ, I gyflwyno y cyfrifon am y flwyddyn 2023-24. Russ, over to you for the annual accounts, please.
Thank you, Chair. So if I may whiz you through some very key headlines, if possible for members. So as already mentioned by Karen, the Audit Committee received the reports in detail and recommended endorsement through to the board, and we're here today for that. Again, key highlights being we attained a £24 million deficit. That's an improvement over the initial plan being a £33 million deficit after Welsh Government allocation of 101 million is taken into consideration. So an improvement over what was the original plan as an outturn. The accounts have been reviewed by Audit Wales, and as mentioned, a qualification on the regulatory opinion was issued, predominantly down to not delivering the key first duty, which is to break even, so our accounts are a deficit position, and then that payment based on decisions taken in previous financial years to a director which was above Welsh Government salary scales. Clearly, as already discussed and reported through Karen, we'd look for that to be the end of that matter. However, I'm absolutely really pleased, absolutely overjoyed to present back to members that we have got an unqualified opinion on our actual accounts and the numbers. That's a clean bill of health. So we are now given a categorisation of true and fair reporting on financial performance. So that's a real movement for us and fabulous considering last year's qualification. Why is that important? Well, it is important because you can rely on the financial reporting and the control environment and the reporting that goes through our boards, but it's also massively important because of allocations received as one-offs during the 23-24 financial year, because we have an improvement over our previous plan we can now count that resource into our baseline as we go forward. And that's improved our recurrent funds. Our funds we're going to receive every year by £74.6 million for 24-25 and beyond. And clearly we have a similar challenge for us as we go into 24-25 to deliver the plan and make good what is a significant sum of non-recurrent resource one-off funding in the 24-25 plan of £82 million. And so really just to conclude, I wanted to give my thanks really and express my thanks to everyone throughout the Health Board who's participated and supported delivery of that financial outturn, the finance teams who've gone above and beyond to produce a set of accounts that can be audited within a time frame that was condensed from last year. So the time frames was brought forward to the 15th of July from the 31st of July at a national level. And to Audit Wales colleagues for participating so well with the organisation, integrating, and the free and open conversations, transparent and factual conversations we've had in order for us to get to the conclusion of our audit and the issuing of the audit opinion. So many thanks to all, and again, more than happy to take any questions.
Diolch yn iawn, Russell. Nawn ni oedi yna am unrhyw sylwadau neu gwestiynau ar y cyfrifon. If you wish to make any comment on the accounts or ask a question, here is your opportunity, please. Na, dwi ddim yn gweld llaw wedi codi, felly mae Karen wedi rhoi crynodeb hefyd o'r hyn. Trafodwyd ddoe, dwi'n credu, ar gwaith mae'r pwyllgor yna wedi gwneud ar y cyfrifon, felly mae yna gryn dipyn o waith wedi digwydd. Eisoes, dyn ni'n gwybod. Claire, you have a question or comment.
It's a comment, Cader, diolch yn fawr, Prynhawn Pawb. I think we do have to note as a board that we are making really positive progress in terms of, I think, much more stronger financial control and management. I think there were criticisms last year from Audit Wales about the quality of some of our information, and I can see in the papers that they're acknowledging that things are in a much better place than they were. So I think we all acknowledge we've still got a lot of work to do, particularly around our transformational change and long-term saving plans. But to get to that financial position at year end, and I think we really ought to acknowledge and thank everybody at Betsy who's contributed to that. And I would just like that to be noted. Diolch, Chair.
Diolch yn iawn, Claire. Yes, I'm sure we all share in that comment, and similar comments were made yesterday in Audit Committee to thank all the team. And it's a big team as well, Russ, Andrea, and everybody involved. Not just for the work on delivering the actual report, but the work throughout the year. And one of the things I think that we are now noticing is the maturing of the relationship with colleagues in Audit Wales, and working together and in a good place to ensure we can deliver the best for the people we serve. So that is a really good place, and we look forward to making further progress. So diolch fawr iawn to everybody who's been part of the work, and if we can ensure that message is passed on to everybody, be really grateful that the board gives its heartfelt thanks. Russell, thank you.
Thank you, Chair.
Unrhyw un arall? Os nad oes, awn ni ymlaen i'r adran nesaf. So next we will turn to Audit Wales and our colleagues from Audit Wales who have been working very closely with us, and your thoughts on the accounts and anything you wish to share with us at this stage. Felly, na I drosglwyddo at Matt a Michelle, dwi'n credu. Diolch yn fawr iawn.
Diolch yn fawr, Cadeirydd, a Prynhawn Dau, both hefyd. Thank you. As mentioned, really, as part of the Chair of the Audit Committee's introduction and Russell's presentation, we presented our key findings to the Audit Committee yesterday. And I think it's pleasing we're able to share our findings with the board today, as we prepare to lay and submit your financial statements in line with the Welsh Government's timetable once you approve them. I won't go through the points that have just been made and reiterate what Russell and Karen just shared with you. But I think the important thing just to flag for the board really is that this is the first time since 2021 that we've been able to meet that Welsh Government submission timetable due to the qualification matters and quality issues that we identified in the previous 2 years. And I think it's fair to say, whilst there remain some matters that we reported to the Audit Committee yesterday, the fact we can meet that submission deadline represents really good progress, and is largely due to the significant improvement secured in the quality of those draft financial statements presented for audit by the Health Board and your finance team. And we'd like to acknowledge our thanks as well to the finance team and staff across the Health Board for the supportive and collaborative way you have worked with us during the audit. It certainly helped us and enabled us to get to this position to report to you today. I won't dwell over the qualification matters because I think Russell has covered those as part of his introduction. I think probably the only other thing to add really is that the Auditor General also intends issuing a report to the Senedd, which will provide further detail on those qualification matters in terms of the regularity opinion and the breach of your first financial duty to achieve financial balance over a 3-year period. But in addition to that, and whilst it isn't a qualification, the Auditor General will also be drawing attention to the fact that the Health Board did not achieve its second financial duty to prepare a 3-year integrated plan as disclosed in the financial statements also. Just finally, Chair, if I may, whilst our report acknowledged the significant improvement in the quality of your financial statements, we also did highlight with the Audit Committee yesterday a need for significant improvement in the quality of the remuneration report that's presented for audit, mainly due to the large number of amendments that arose to ensure factual accuracy and full compliance with Welsh Government's requirements. And this is a key governance document for you. And whilst we acknowledge that this may partly be due to the significant changes in the composition of the board during the period in question, given the public interest and the sensitivity of its content, it's essential that the quality issues are addressed going forward. We identified a need for the Health Board to continue strengthening its governance arrangements around senior appointments and how it documents and records decisions taken by the Remuneration Committee. We identified some concerns in those areas. But I'm pleased to say we've got commitment from the Director of Corporate Governance and her team to work with us over the coming months now to secure the improvements needed. So to conclude, Chair, the Auditor General will certify and lay your annual report and financial statements later this week following your approval of the documents today. Diolch yn fawr, I'm happy to take any questions.
Diolch iawn, Matt. And again, diolch yn iawn i'r tîm I gyd sydd bod yn rhan o'r gwaith a'r cydweithio sydd wedi bod. The matters you highlight are certainly on our radar, and we are really keen to work with yourself and colleagues to ensure we continue on that improvement journey. We have progressed, but we've got much more to do as well. So really grateful for the opportunity to continue, and grateful also for you highlighting those matters that need improvement, and we look forward to working with you. So we'll pause there for questions and comments, and you did reference Pam as Director of Corporate Governance, and I'm sure she'll wish to comment on what you had to say too. So Pam, over to you.
Diolch yn fawr, David. Thank you, Matt. I suppose just for the record, I just wanted to let the board know that Carol, our Chief Exec, has been struggling to join. I can see her in the corner.
Yes,
so
yes.
I just wanted, just in terms of for matter of record, and I suppose I was just going to re-emphasise the commitments that we've given, and obviously Carol referred to in Audit Committee yesterday around certainly strengthening our audits and record keeping in relation to Remuneration Committee, and we are actively working with Audit Committee throughout the year now to share in terms of how we'll be recording any decisions of the Remuneration Committee, and then how that aligns with the work of the finance team. So I suppose I just really wanted to reaffirm the commitment, important for the record. And now that Carol's on, I'm sure she might want to follow me on that. So diolch.
Diolch yn iawn, Pam. Yes, and I think Carol may have a comment, so I'll go over to Carol.
Prynawn da pawb. First of all, my apologies. Having a technology issue anyway. Persistence and perseverance has won through, so I've managed to connect. Couple of comments. I joined the meeting yesterday, the Audit Committee, where a number of really key elements were discussed, both in terms of the annual accounts and to reiterate thanks to Audit Wales colleagues, but also in relation to systems of internal control and our thanks to the Internal Audit Service and colleagues who've contributed to our better understanding, I think, of where the Health Board is currently. My general comment that I made yesterday is that it's very clear that progress is being made in the organisation, particularly around governance and around financial governance, but there remains a great deal of work to do in terms of improving the effectiveness of the organisation. And I think the reports that we have before us sort of outline that. And we'll have an opportunity to share those more broadly with the public when we hold our annual general meeting in September. So just a couple of opening remarks from me. Thanks, Chair.
Great. Diolch yn fawr, Carol. I'm glad you've managed to overcome the technology. That's a challenge for many of us, of course, so great. Unrhyw arall, unrhyw gwestiwn neu sylwadau ar adroddiad Archwilio Cymru? Na, os nad oes, diolch yn iawn unwaith eto i'r tîm sydd wedi bod yn rhan o'r gwaith yna, a diolch am yr adroddiad. Edrych ymlaen, fel dyn ni gyd wedi dweud, a gydweithio'n agos iawn efo chi dros yr wythnosau a'r misoedd nesaf. Yn falch iawn o'r cyfle i wneud hynny. Ond i mlaen at yr adran nesaf, felly a barn pennaeth archwilio mewnol, bydd Pam yn cyflwyno hwn fel cyfarwyddwr llywodraethu, ond da ni hefyd yn falch iawn o gysawu Dave Harris at ni o'r tîm archwilio mewnol. So Pam, I think you are presenting this, and we welcome also Dave, who is from our internal audit team, of course. So over to you for the internal audit opinion report, Pam. Diolch yn iawn.
Diolch. David, excuse me, just really wanted to present the internal audit opinion in full to the board. As Karen has mentioned, they've provided a very detailed report to Audit Committee yesterday, so I'm not planning to replay that. So I think just a couple of points, really. Special thanks to Dave, Harry's, Nicola, and the whole internal audit team. It's always a really challenge just in terms of working through the sort of tight timescales and actually working with me as I've landed into Betsy Cadwell as a health board. So special thanks to the team. I think Carol, as well as others, have already touched on the internal audit opinion. It is a limited assurance opinion. The full details are in the report. Just in terms of the overall plans, obviously in terms of how we strengthen our systems of internal control, that's a key priority for the executive team this year, and obviously progress will be monitored through the Audit Committee. So other than that, I just really wanted to invite the board to receive the full opinion that was considered at Audit Committee. If there's any difficult questions on internal audit, of course, Dave is here and I'm sure he'll be able to help us navigate through those. But we did go into it some detail yesterday in Audit Committee. Happy to take any questions from the board, David.
Diolch yn iawn, Pam, and many thanks also for that report, which gives us a picture of all the findings of internal audit, and as you referenced, there was quite a detailed session on that yesterday. Just in case Dave is here, just rhag on, wyt ti isio ychwanegu rhywbeth, Dave? Mae'n y cyfle I ti wneud hynny rwan.
Diolch yn fawr iawn, Cadeirydd, am y cyfle. Thank you. I just echoing Pam's views. Yes, it was a limited assurance opinion, and we did go into detail at the Audit Committee yesterday. But probably just worthwhile me reaffirming to the board some key elements from our perspective. As a function, as a service to the Health Board, we've complied with the public sector internal audit standards issued by Welsh Government. Really important for us as an independent function of the Health Board is just to reaffirm our independence. And there's been no impairments to our independence in this financial year. We've had no undue pressure put on us at all. In terms of my access, I have unfettered access to the accountable officer. I have unfettered access to both the chair of the audit committee and also the health board chair. Thankfully, I've not had to use it, and going forward, hopefully not. But in addition, we also meet regularly with Audit Wales, just to provide assurance that we do work collaboratively with Audit Wales to maximise the audit resource to the Health Board, so we don't duplicate our resource with any reviews that they're doing. Chair, that's all I wanted to say. Just thank you.
Diolch iawn, Dave, a diolch am y gwaith yn ystod y blwyddyn. Gwaith pwysig iawn I gefnogi ni ar yn siwrne wella, wrth gwrs, felly diolch I ti ag I tîm gyfan. Any questions? Unrhyw gwestiynau neu sylwadau sgolch yna ar yr adroddiad yma? No, I don't think so. I can't see any hands raised. And as has been referenced, Audit Committee went through it in good detail yesterday, and Audit Committee, of course, received these reports on a regular basis and the follow-up actions and do good work ensuring that everything is covered as needs be. So we thank Audit Committee and Karen, Chair, and members for the work on that again. Ymlaen felly at yr eitem nesa, sef yr adroddiad blynyddol. Pam, we're going to turn to you again to give us a summary of any points in the annual report, please.
Diolch yn fawr, David. So the board will have in front of you the annual report. This is a technical document. I think it's important to remember, and HM Treasury guidance. The Health Board needs to comply with what's called the Manual of Accounts, and there's very specific requirements what we have to cover within the annual report. So the annual report is covered in 3 stages. We've got the performance section at the start, part 1. Part 2 is the accountability report, which will include the relevant statements referred to from Audit Wales, but also the annual governance statement. And then part 3, subject to board approval, will include the annual accounts. And the combined document then forms the annual report and accounts, which will be submitted via Audit Wales to Welsh Government for signing by the Auditor General for Wales this week. So it's a combined document. It has been through audit processes reviewed at Audit Committee, not only yesterday, but previously, and the board has had full sighted of that. So I just really wanted to highlight just a couple of key points just in terms of assurance for the board. In the conversations at Audit Committee yesterday, there were some comments which were suggested for us to look at, and 1 or 2 technical matters raised by Audit Wales yesterday. Since the meeting yesterday, we've met with Audit Wales. We have addressed all the elements referred to in their note. Audit Wales have confirmed to me that they're satisfied in terms of the approach, but obviously, so we'll need to make those slight amendments in terms of the annual report, and that will be checked obviously as part of the submission process tomorrow when we combine the full set. So I just really wanted to the board to note that I've got a full list of those changes, which, David, rather than go through them in detail, I will just send through to you and Karen as audit chair, just in terms of to confirm those changes have been made and they will be subject to Audit Wales approval before we submit. So if you're happy with that as an approach, was the first element. There were some other comments, also other comments made from members of the audit committee in relation to some typographical errors and further explanation. For example, in terms of off payroll, trusted assessor, and in terms of the performance report, and we have also addressed those elements and confirmed those in terms of the report. So I just really wanted to highlight that was part of the discussions we had yesterday. I wanted to extend special thanks to Phil Meakin and my corporate governance team for actually pulling this annual report together, as well as Helen's team, comms engagement and finance team, because it's very much a team approach. And to get to this point in quite challenging timescales, as well as being through the audit process, I think that's just really wanted to recognise the whole team approach in relation to that. The board has already received the report in detail in terms of the financial accounts, the report from Audit Wales. We've received the internal audit opinion, which sets out in terms of the approach. The annual report also covers breaches in terms of our standing orders and standing financial instructions during the year on page 135. And I just wanted to highlight to the board, there have been some instances where we have breached our standing orders. Earlier in the year, I would say, certainly processes and systems have improved since, and that related to papers, late papers, and there were one or two issues in terms of procurement, but certainly that has been strengthened. Just really wanted to draw to attention, which I'm not going to replay it, draw to our attention through the Audit Wales report in relation to the previous appointment of the Interim Director of Finance. I think the board recognises that was a disappointing issue to have happened, but just to give the board assurance that we will address, or working with Audit Wales to ensure we comply with our governance going forward. I think I just really wanted to note that actually, you know, it's been a really challenging period over the last 12 to 15 months for the board, with a whole new set of board members, setting up the governance and the committees, after some very critical reports against the organisation, having some subsequent reports from Audit Wales reporting that the health board is in a more stable position, and obviously we want to build on some of that going forward, and that's reported in the structured assessment as well as the board effectiveness review. Not going to replay the points around the breach of the statutory duties because they've already been covered by Audit Wales. So in conclusion, David, I just really wanted to recommend to the board the annual report and the annual accounts, and we'll come to the recommendations at the end. It's a true and fair view of the governance in relation to the health board over the year, and I'd be very happy as Director of Corporate Governance to commend that to the board for approval. But happy to take any questions. Thank you, diolch.
Diolch yn iawn, Pam, and thank you very much to you and the team for all the work on this, as you've said. Carol, gynta, a wedyn unrhyw un arall, unrhyw gwestiwn neu sylw. Carol.
Diolch, Chair. There's a couple of things for me to say at this point, but one is a point thanks to the governance team and both our internal and external audit colleagues for helping to support this document being presented publicly. It does take a lot of work and is really key in terms of the milestones for us as still a relatively new board. So this will be the first year of this new board, really, and the things that we've had to re-establish through the year, recognising as well in the context of special measures. A couple of things for me to point out, really. There should be no surprises, really, in this report to either members of the board or the public more generally in terms of the general progress of the organisation. We did quite a lot of reporting at the milestone of the special measures a couple of months ago, and people will have noted quite a change in the approach over the year to our openness and transparency as we go through all of our committee meetings and our public board, and particularly our engagement with stakeholders. So I wanted to also just mention the contribution of external stakeholders to the work of the board. The other thing for me to really say is that, in summary, I was asked yesterday at the audit committee, so what does this really say for members of the public who might be looking at the meeting? Well, first of all, encourage them to come to the AGM, but secondly, I think this report is basically saying the health board is more stable. We've got external audit view on that. And we've made progress on corporate governance and financial governance, but there's still a very long way to go in terms of both operational performance and delivery, services to patients and our communities in North Wales, and also the quality of our services. And so they feature very strongly in this year's annual plan, which the Q1 report will be in front of the board shortly. I make these comments because this annual report requires me as accountable officer to give a true and fair view of where the organisation is. So that would be my summary, Chair, and I'm grateful for internal external audit colleagues for their validation of that position. Thanks very much.
Thank you very much, Carol. Yes, and whilst we recognise that it's a statutory duty for us as an organisation to produce this report, as it is other reports, it's significant because it's a true and fair summary of our performance as a health board, and the 700,000 people we serve, also the 20,000 people who work in the health board. I'm sure are interested where we are as an organisation and how we have made progress, and I think you've summarised it quite well. I guess the very short version is we have made progress around the mechanics of the organisation, and now we've got to meet the challenge of quality and performance and those areas that affect people who are waiting for treatment and care in the whole health and well-being system. And there are huge challenges there, but we are very much aware of them and we are on that journey. So our hope is when we revisit this next year, at this time, we will be able to show the progress we've made in those particular areas. And that's going to be quite a challenge, as I say, and it's going to involve a lot of work and a lot of considering how our approach can be different to what it has been. And very often, that's the greatest challenge, is to do things differently, but we are going to have to do that to ensure progress. So yeah, it'll be interesting to see 12 months' time. Let us highlight the progress we have made, but the board, of course, will be monitoring progress in every meeting we have, but significantly our committees will also be looking at progress. So that's a message, if I, as chair, can put out to the organisation, Betty Cadwallader University Health Board, is we've done well around governance in particular and the way we organise ourselves. We have now got a full board, or fairly full. I know some posts of executives are still interim, but we've got a full board, and we've addressed those issues. Now we really need to make progress on performance in quite a few areas, and the quality, and at the heart of that is very often communication too. So all those things together are going to be the mainstay of our work over the next months, and we look forward to seeing how we progress. So thanks very much for that, Carol. I've sort of underlined what you said, I hope, so that we get the message across internally and externally. And we also know that government and the Cabinet Secretary through the whole regime of special measures are also looking and monitoring our progress on a monthly basis. So we've got lots of work to do. I'll stop there and invite anyone else unrhyw gwestiwn neu sylw gan unrhyw un on the annual report. Please feel free if you have a further comment, please. Diolch yn fawr iawn. Os nad oes unrhyw sylw neu gwestiwn, yna gawn ni ddiolch am yr adroddiad a diolch i bawb sydd wedi bod yn clwm a'i baratoi o lot fawr o waith, ac fel oeddwn ni'n dweud, yr hyn sy'n bwysig ydy yr negeseuon canolog sydd yn yr adroddiad yna. Pam, maybe you want to come in to round up for us too. Diolch yn fawr iawn.
Diolch, David. So on the basis of the conversations today, just wanted to therefore invite the board to agree to the recommendations in the cover report, which is to receive the annual report, to approve the annual report and accounts in readiness for submission to Audit Wales and Welsh Government. And also as part of that process, there's a letter of representation which was included in the audit report, which the chair and chief exec are required to sign. So inviting the board to approve that as well. So thank you very much.
Diolch yn fawr, Pam. So those three things we will need to do: receive the annual report, approve the annual report for submission to Audit Wales and Government, and then approve the letter of representation. Before we move to that, in case there's any final comment from anyone, Karen, as chair of Audit Committee in particular, in case there's anything else you wanted to add, an opportunity to do so now before we move to the recommendations and then finalising the meeting.
Diolch, David. I think every point has been raised either through internal audit, external audit, Pam, Carol, yourself. From the meeting yesterday, I wouldn't add anything further at this point, other than we were recommending that the board adopt the accounts today.
Great.
Thank you.
Diolch yn iawn. Felly, dyna di'r argymhellion. Ydy pawb yn hapus i dderbyn yr adroddiad blynyddol? Please indicate if you are happy to receive the annual report and section 1 and 2 of the annual governance statement. Diolch yn fawr. And then cymeradwyo adroddiad blynyddol yn barod i gyflwyno i archwilio Cymru a Llywodraeth Cymru. You're happy to approve the report that's been presented so we can submit it to Audit Wales and Government. Diolch yn fawr. Ac yna yn ola i gymeradwyo y llythyr cynrychiolaeth. As Pam said, the letter of representation, we all happy for that to be signed by myself and Carol as Chief Exec on behalf of the board. Everybody happy to do that? Diolch yn fawr iawn. Reit, gyda hynny, dyna ddiwedd ein busnes am heddiw. Fel wedys i ar y dechrau, oedd i am bod yn gyfarfod llawer byrach na'r arfer. Ac mae'n cyfarfod nesaf ni ar Orffennaf 25, a dwi'n meddwl bydd hynny yn yr optic yn Llanelwy, os dwi'n cofio'n iawn. Felly, croeso i chi y cyhoedd ymuno â ni ar-lein bryd hynny, a dyn ni'n edrych ymlaen at barhau ar sgwrs gyhoeddus dyn ni'n cynnal gyda chi yn gyson dyn ni'n cyfarfod yng nghyffordd Llandudno fory am 10:00 gyda sesiwn a chyfle i bobl yr ardal hwnna ddod ato ni i ni gael trafodaeth am y bwrdd iechyd a'r gwasanaeth iechyd, a dwi'n edrych ymlaen at ymuno bawb yn y ganolfan gymunedol, dwi'n credu, yn nghyffordd Llandudno fory. So if you are in the area, please feel free to join us tomorrow in Junction to have those conversations that have been really valuable over the last 12 months, actually, in the various communities we've visited. Reit, dyna ddiwedd yn sesiwn ni heddiw. Diolch yn iawn i bawb am y gwaith. Gawn ni ddiolch i Lowri am y cyfieithu a'r gwasanaeth sydd wedi cael ei ddarparu, a diolch i Diane a Llynos a pawb arall sydd wedi bod yn glwm ar trefniadau heddiw. Mae yn aml yn fwy anodd cynnal cyfarfod ar-lein nag ydi o mewn person, a mae'r dechnoleg yn gallu ein herio ni ar y degau, ond dyn ni wedi llwyddo rhywsut i gynnwys pawb, felly dwi'n falch iawn bod y dechnoleg wedi gweithio. A gyda hynny, ga i ddymuno pnawn da i bawb ac dymuniadau gorau am weddill yr wythnos. Bydd rhai yn gwylio pêl-droed heno, dwi'n siŵr, ac fydd hi'n gyffroes, dwi'n siŵr, os ydych chi yn gwylio pêl-droed heno. Dwi'n meddwl gafon ni'r gêm orau hyd yma neithiwr. Dwi'n siŵr be gawn ni heno, ond gawn ni weld. Diolch yn iawn i bawb, a dymuniadau gorau. Hwyl fawr.